Thanks everyone for joining this session for Marketing Cloud Einstein. We're going to be covering 3 of the features of Marketing Cloud Einstein. I know there's a lot more to cover and we'll do that in later sessions, but for this one, we're going to be covering send time optimization, copy insights, and subject line insights. And just so that you can kind of go through it as we talk about it, if you could sign into your Marketing Cloud and just follow along in your business unit as we go through these. There'll also be opportunities for group participation throughout the session. So if you're in your Marketing Cloud, that will be helpful. And then just as a reminder, you can find Einstein-related wikis by going to the Need Help Start Here page on the eComm website and navigate to Marketing Cloud and then Einstein. And there'll be, I think there's 3 resources linked there. All right, let me switch my screen here. Okay, I think, do you see my Marketing Cloud screen?
I do.
Okay, perfect. So as a reminder to navigate to the various Einstein features in your Marketing Cloud, and I'm showing the UCCS Alumni Relations business unit, just because that was one that we turned Einstein on first, and so there's more data in here. So when I'm showing you examples, it will be populated. So to navigate to the Einstein features, you click on the little house, hover over Einstein, and then select the feature that you want to look at. So we're going to start with send time optimization. And it should bring up this screen for you. And as a reminder, send time optimization uses machine learning and 90 days of engagement data to determine the optimal send times by day and or hour. And that's based on when a user is most likely to engage with your message. And so for this, the data input is the subscriber's engagement with email messages sent from all business units within the enterprise within the past 90 days. And output is the optimal time to send an email to subscribers. So you can use this to look and see if you're needing to send an email on a specific day. You can come in here and see when is the best time during that day to send. Or you can also, if your send time frame is more flexible and you're just, oh, it needs to go out between Monday and Wednesday, you can look in here and see which day and time is the best. So looking here, we can see, let's say we're looking at Wednesday, we can see that 11 a.m. is the best time to send. And this section right here with the assigned personal send time and pending personal send time. So while the AI is gathering data, there'll be pending personal send time. So for 15,000 almost contacts, it's still gathering data on when the best time to send to that audience those contacts would be. And then 14,000 contacts have an assigned personal send time because they have enough data to determine that. So up here, you can filter that out if you're wanting to see send time optimization for all of the email addresses. So for this, it would be the 29,000, or if you're wanting to see for people who there was enough data for AI to determine optimal send time, and then the pending ones. And then this widget down here, when would Einstein send? This is where you can, it's going to give you, the same data here, but if you're wanting to just look at a specific day, Tuesday, then you can select the day and look and see, okay, for Tuesday, 5 is the best time to send. 5 a.m. it looks like is the best time to send. And yeah, you can go through the different days of the week. And then if you want to look at all days in the week and see the best day, you can see here that Monday is the best day. So if you're in your business unit, take a look at the send time optimization, and you can either put it in the chat, or if you want to come off mute and share, and let us know what is the best time to send an email on Tuesday when you're looking at your business unit.
I get 12 noon for me personally.
I'm showing 1.
So it sounds like people are able to navigate that. Any questions about looking at the send time? Is anyone having trouble finding it?
Hi, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So this is Jackie with International Affairs, and maybe I'm not looking at it correctly, but my business unit, because we're in the College of Arts and Sciences, it has me in the College of Arts and Sciences, and I don't know if I'm able to drill down in Einstein to my unit or if it's just all of College of Arts and Sciences.
Yeah, so you'll be looking at all email addresses in that business unit that you're in. So it'll be data for all of the email addresses in that business unit.
So in this case, it'd be College of Arts and Sciences.
Right, yeah.
Okay, just making sure I wasn't needing to drill down farther. Thank you.
Yeah, and Tim, I saw your question about, is it possible to break this out by data extension? It is, and I was taking a look at that and I need to touch base with Claire. I think you can, on the overview dashboard, you can look at a data extension and see the send time optimization, but a lot of the data extensions weren't there. There was just a handful of data extensions available. So I think it might be maybe a sharing thing or something that I need to look into more. So we can follow up maybe in the December session with more information on how to drill down by data extension. And yeah, Will, the assigned personal time, those are the contacts that have enough engagement data gathered on them that they have send time optimization time assigned to them. And then the pending personal time, those are the contacts that don't have enough engagement data yet to have a send time optimization assigned to them. So Einstein's still gathering information on those pending personalized time people.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, we will move on for the sake of time to copy insights. So to get there again, we go over to Einstein, go down to copy insights. And this tool reviews up to 90 days of rolling email engagement data, analyzes the performance, and returns insights on how to make your subject lines more impactful to increase engagement. So this performance tester tool at the top, we're going to talk about that next. So ignore that for now, and we'll look at the subject line analytics and the other widgets below. So for this, the data input for language analytics and insights includes subject lines sent from a single business unit within the past 90 days. And the data output are the language analytics and insights. And then down here, top performing phrases and most frequently used phrases. And just an important note here, these are insights for the specific business unit that you're looking at. So if it says emojis have a negative impact, that means that's just for this business unit, and it can also change over time. So that's not to say, okay, one time it told me that emojis had a negative impact. I'm never going to use emojis again. I'm not going to use them in other business units. Just don't use it as a guideline or standard practice across the board. It's relative to the business unit and is subject to change over time. So here you can see under the subject line analytics, the different subject lines that have been used in this business unit, and the engagement rate assigned to those subject lines. So you can see the You're Invited UCCS faculty and staff alumni breakfast has an above average engagement rate versus Welcome to the A-List, your weekly alumni mini digest has below average engagement rate. And then under the language factor insights, this will list out different language factors that have an impact on the performance of your subject line and engagement rate. And so over here under impact, you'll see green and red dots. The green dots mean that that factor has a positive impact on your engagement, and red dots mean it has a negative impact. And then the number of dots is the level of impact. So here we can see originality of subject lines, not using the same subject line over and over for emails has a positive impact on engagement versus has an exclamation mark in the subject line has a more negative impact on engagement rates. And in this business unit, there isn't enough data yet on frequently used phrases or top performing phrases, but that would be populated here, and it would give you the top performing 3 words used in a subject line and the most frequently used phrases in a subject line, and we give you some engagement insights there as well. So for this group participation, if you could share in the chat or come off of mute and share one of your top performing subject lines that you're seeing in your business unit. And in looking at the language factor insights widget, share a language factor that is positively impacting performance.
Hey, Lauren, may I ask a question pertaining to your assignment?
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm understanding sort of the logic of the language here. I'm looking at the language factor insights, and I understand that sort of the number of dots implies more or less of an impact.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the ones in our set of rows has call to action words, and there's 3 red dots. So does that mean it is triply negatively impacting the effectiveness of that subject line?
Yeah, that's what it would be. That's what it would be indicating. Yeah.
So something like apply now in your subject line. This insight is suggesting that's bad. That's negatively impacting the engagement rate.
Right. Yeah. And just one thing to consider with that, again, it could vary by business unit and over time as more insights are gathered. So up here, I think, where was it? The model confidence here, there's 2 dots out of 5. And so that just means that the model confidence is lower because it's still working on gathering data. So if it could change over time if your model confidence is lower on the lower end and it's still working on gathering data, that call to action words impact might change over time. But generally speaking, yeah, that's what it's saying with the red dots, that it does have a negative. From what Einstein has analyzed so far with the emails, it's had a negative impact.
So just quick follow-up question then. Would we be in good shape to look at these types of insights as sort of guidelines or guidance for kind of, best practices? Like there's lines about has an exclamation point or has numbers or whatnot, and there's indicators for the positive or negative impact of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Should we understand these insights to suggest to us, okay, well, doing this thing generally should be a positive thing, if the impact indicators are that way?
I would say yes for the business unit. Again, it can, if we're looking at the UCCS alumni relations business unit, it might say emojis have a negative impact. And then if we look at a different business unit,
It might be different. I
have
see.
a
Okay.
positive impact. So
so
yeah,
take in the context of what you're looking at.
yeah, and that it could change over time. Emojis might have a negative impact now, and 6 months from now, a positive impact.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Lauren, I have a quick question just off of what you all were just talking about. With the frequency, like how things change over time, is there like a best practice time frame to be kind of rechecking what's the top performing stuff? You know, like every 90 days we should go in and see how things are changing so that we can maybe see patterns, or is that not relevant?
Yeah, that kind of leads into the next tool that I was going to show with this performance tester tool. So this is part of the Copy Insights feature, and you can use it to find out how your message's subject line is likely to influence message performance. So here you can test the performance of a single subject line or compare up to 10 subject lines before you send an email out. So how you do that is you just in here enter a subject line. Let's say you're going to send out a November newsletter, and what you typically title it is November 2022 newsletter, and you want to see how this is going to perform. So you put that in here and click test, and it will bring up two like real-time insights for that subject line. So here we can see there's this graph here, and at the bottom it has the lowest performing subject line in the business unit to date and the highest performing. This orange bar here is the predicted effectiveness range. The purple line is the average for the business unit, average effectiveness for the business unit. And then the orange line shows the prediction for the subject line that you've tested. So we can see that November 2022 newsletter falls in the predicted effectiveness range and is higher than the average in this business unit. And then down here, you can see what factors are impacting the performance of this subject line. So we can see the subject line contains November has a really high positive impact on predicted effectiveness versus these other factors are relatively low. Subject line uses a number, subject line uses 0 emojis, and you can see if Einstein's recommending that you make changes based on these impacts, or if the impact is so low that you don't really need to look at making changes to the subject line. And you can also test, if we go back, you can also test get back here. You can test up to 10 subject lines. So if you have I'll just go here. If you have other ones that you want to test, like read our newsletter. Check out the November 2022 newsletter. You can test up to 10 different subject lines and see which one looks the best. So we can see, check out the November 2022 newsletter has a lot more negative impact language factors compared to the first one that we looked at. And yeah, you can do up to 10 of those. And so I would recommend doing that because you're looking real time at the insights. You can, of course, check in, on a certain time frame and see overall insights for the business unit. But I think that doing it this way might be more effective when you're sending out emails.
Super cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So for this little group participation, if you want to test it out, type a subject line in the tester tool. And you can put it in the chat again or come off of mute and let us know a couple of the factors impacting the performance of the subject line that you tested.
Lauren, I fear this is going to become sort of the Kayla and Eric tag team on you, but I'm going to comment because I have a question in as part of my response to your request. So I was looking at a low performing subject line that had to do with mental health support, and so I used that testing tool to try some different versions of it. So probably not too surprisingly, a version that said, could you use some help with a question mark, seems to test better or average as compared to the other combinations that tested below average. The question here though is, in the little table below the chart, it has the factors that are impacting the performance of the subject line. And I used one that had the word support in the subject line. And interestingly enough, in the factors, it's saying to me the subject line contains keywords support in all bold. And that impact is saying there's 5 red dots that, if I'm understanding correctly, that means sort of very bad impact on the subject line. Does that sort of make sense to you, that that word would impact that subject line so negatively?
And again, it's based off of the
business unit, right?
Yeah, and the insights that Einstein has gathered so far. So I don't know is your model confidence?
It's pretty low. It's 2.
Okay.
And
yeah.
and
So
this,
oh, go ahead.
Also the business unit is our central marketing communications business unit, and we send out the newsletter and things like that. And maybe to the audiences to whom we send, that's what that is telling us. It just was a little surprising to me.
Yeah, and as more data is gathered, that might change. There might be maybe 2 emails that have gone out, or 1 email that's gone out that had the word support in it, and engagement rates were low. And so Einstein is
not a lot of data.
Yeah, identifying that has a negative impact, and maybe with more time, and when the model confidence is higher, that will be different. But again, even when we're looking at, read our newsletter versus check out the November 2022 newsletter, it's still above the average, and within this the predicted range. So it's not that they're terrible, even with having all these negative impacts. I think the big concern would be if your prediction is falling way out of this effectiveness range, out of the orange box.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Will, I saw your question. Claire, I forget, how long does Marketing Cloud usually take for the data to process and show up after Einstein's been turned on?
It kind of depends on the specific feature. Like I was just chatting with Monica, and the copy insights takes 10 different subject lines in the past 90 days. So it's dependent on the specific Einstein feature, though generally you'll see some data start to populate after 72 hours of turning it on.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thanks.
Right. So I had sent way more than 10 emails, but I only have about 9 variations in the subject line across those. So just under being able to pull into the data.
So those are the 3 features we were going to go over today. We have a few minutes here. Does anyone have any questions about those 3 features?
I have a question, please.
Yeah.
This is Ron with the School of Pharmacy. I really like that this looks at the subject lines itself. I was wondering about insights on the email the sender itself. Is there anything that might provide us some evidence on which email sender seems to get the best response? Should I send something out from the dean as opposed to the School of Pharmacy in general, that kind of thing?
Trying to think if there are any Einstein features that look at that. Claire, do you know off the top of your head? I don't think so, but I could be missing something.
I don't think so either. I think that would be something, you could definitely test that in A/B testing. And that would be one way to get at that data, leaving everything the same except for the sender profile. And then the other workaround I would say is just looking at open rates for the specific sender profile. But there's no specific Einstein feature that deals with the sender. I think you would have to do the workaround of the A/B testing.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
And I'll just add to that, that's typically we advise testing it initially, but down the road, if you're switching back and forth, there's other implications. Somebody could be adding that friendly from name as an address to their inbox. So that email might be going to a different folder or something, and then you switch it and they would have to do that step again. So just be mindful of testing that and the implications for the recipient.
Well, thank you all for attending this session. We're going to be hosting another one in December where we'll go over some of the other Einstein features.